conspiracy theory?
It's not?
No, I think everybody knows that the U.S. wants to gobble up Canada because of our resources.
It's not them gobbling up. It's an amalgamation. Because the U.S., who wants to join the U.S. now? They owe $16 trillion in debt.
Well, and they're taking back their income tax, no matter where you are.
Exactly. All that stuff, right?
Yeah, it's true.
It's
true. So that's the thing. It's like you can run, but you can't hide. It's because all the Americans are coming to Canada.
Well, because
it's true, though.
Well, not all of them, but there are a lot of them that are dissatisfied with the direction the U.S. is taking, especially with all the foreign wars and everything, and they just want to go to somewhere that they think is better. And unfortunately, like, we used to be that refuge right back in the Vietnam War days with draft dodgers, but now what? Now we all have to submit to the IRS.
Well, see, that's the real reasons, because you can't run to Canada anymore if Canada becomes part of the U.S., just another state. And you know what? A lot of people think of Canada as another state already.
No. Who?
Well, a lot of people think when you say, yeah, I'm from Toronto, they just think it's another state. They just think it's like them.
I didn't know that.
Have you ever heard of Rick Mercer when he used to go to the States and do all kinds of...
I didn't like that.
Oh, my God, they were so funny.
Well, it's, you could do the same thing to Canadians.
Oh, of course you could. Of course you could. I mean, yeah, I probably would be one of those people on there.
Unfair, Rick. I know it's, for the comedy purposes.
But you know what? They're having fun with our mayor, so I guess it's okay.
It's not their fault. It's our mayor's fault.
Everything is our mayor's fault.
I know.
He's going to have a reality show in time,
He's already got one. No, he does.
It's called The City of Toronto.
Yeah. Well, Sandra.
Yes.
Do you want to get
Snowing
busy?
out.
Is it?
Yeah.
See, I haven't been out since...
Yeah, it's snowing. Again.
But let's start this show, shall we?
Nicola does not look like she's been in the snow.
Beep, beep, beep.
Okay.
Beep. I know she looks like she's from California. Right?
I know.
Like you were saying.
I know.
Where the weather's perfect all the time.
I know.
You don't have to bundle up in a coat.
I know.
You can just walk around all day in your...
Nothing.
If you have to.
If it's that hot.
But before we get to Dr. Nicola Bird,
Yes.
who's our first guest today, we also have Julian+Luke from the Infinite Source Group coming on the show. We have Kyla Dixon coming on. She's all about cold frames, and we need to talk to her about that because apparently
she was here last time. I remember her from about a year ago.
And
she was amazing.
She's probably growing lettuce right now, even though it's snowing
she had
outside.
Amazing tips.
Yes, Kyla Dixon-Muir.
And who else?
And also we have Jennifer Black coming on the show, talking about financial planning.
See, with a name like Jennifer Black, I would think that would be a fashion person.
Well,
it sounds like a fashion designer.
I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. I'll probably be wrong again.
But
one
you know
day.
what? If you are a financial planner and you are a good financial planner, you can buy a lot of fashion. Maybe there's the connection.
That's right. Well, okay. I'll just let that go. Also, Luke is coming on the show. Luke. Sacred geometry. We're going to talk some
that's going to be
sacred
interesting.
Geometry, yeah. So it's a very interesting show.
Yes, we're covering everything today.
So let's start the show off. We've got Dr. Nicola Bird here, and she's got a book, The Boomerang Effect, How You Can Take Charge of Your Life. And Nicola is here at the table. And Nicola, welcome to Liquid Lunch.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Hello. It doesn't look like you're very snow-tired.
No, absolutely not. It wasn't that much snow, and I believe that we keep warmth in our heart. So
that's a beautiful, beautiful.
So I try to focus there and think of sunshine, and then it really makes a difference. Because otherwise, if you keep snow in your mind, you get really bogged down in the cold.
Well, that makes sense actually. If you're talking about something called the boomerang effect.
Yes.
Right? So if you put that out there, you get that back, right?
Absolutely, because then you're focusing on what you are perceiving as unpleasant. So, like, if I walk out on a winter morning and it's crisp and fresh, there's something really beautiful about crisp, fresh air.
Yes,
that's
true.
Really,
that's true.
It's really pure. I always find them beautiful mornings.
Now, Nicola, or do I?
I think he's going. Sounds like get real, Nicola.
Well, because that sounds like a really good attitude, And I know that besides writing the book,
But
you have created something called self-imaging therapy, and I'm wondering if this great attitude that you have is something that you had to, at one time had to work at to bring into your life, and maybe it was part of the process of identifying or figuring this self-imaging therapy out.
Great question, and you're absolutely right that you're saying that my outlook is something I've worked on, but I think that is something I always have to work on, and we all have to spend time, like, as a discipline, really training our mind or training our thoughts or training our emotions, because you can't just say, I ate lettuce in 1985 and I'm healthy. You know, you can't say, "Oh, look at you."
That's done now. You're done. No more.
I ate lettuce like more recently than that.
Does that count?
To be healthy or to be getting your nutrients, it's a practice. It's a daily discipline that you take care of yourself. So if you're feeding yourself junk, what's the outcome? Same thing. If you're feeding yourself mentally and emotionally things that really bog you down, you're going to be stuck in those places. So yes, I have worked on it. I do work on it. I don't arrive. And I definitely make it a discipline in my life to really be mindful of myself and observe myself. And my work is a big part of being able to achieve that.
What do you mean?
Well, the work that I do, my self-imaging therapy, it helps me maintain my ability to be aware of myself and create change. And then that work, I translate it into work that I do with other people.
So I guess in other words, you are taking your own therapy and using it yourself. You're taking your own medicine.
Well, I don't believe that we can really practice something or preach something that we don't practice.
Right.
Yeah.
That we have to be able to identify and actually be part of that. So if I didn't have it myself, build that understanding or realize this, then it would be really hard for me to be really effective in my work. I think that I would be a whole lot less effective.
Yeah.
And that I live by what I do.
Okay.
So
cool.
I have a question.
Absolutely.
It sounds to me, when you're talking about this discipline, it sounds to me like this is about choice.
It is about choice, but you notice that I hesitated.
Yes.
Because
where does that start? And
it's the reason I hesitate is because it's really easy for people to blame themselves for things patterns that they have learned. And in my work, I see that all the time, that people beat themselves up, criticize themselves, and blame themselves. A blaming mind is very common for human behavior.
I try to blame other people as much as possible, Nicola.
But you see,
it's very effective.
The problem is the blaming mind tends to turn back on itself.
That's the boomerang.
Is that the boomerang?
That's the boomerang.
So if you blame other people because you're thinking from a blaming perspective, it will turn back on you as a lens that you look at yourself and you go, and you start nitpicking and beating yourself and being really unkind.
Oh.
I think we can learn to make really healthy choices for ourselves, and it is a choice to go forward and work on bettering ourselves, looking at ourselves, reflecting on ourselves in a healthy manner. But if you have patterns of behavior, and that's the boomerang effect, and maybe I can explain that. The boomerang is when things repeat themselves in the same pattern. So you're stuck in the same thoughts, the same emotions, or the same relationships, or you notice the same things keep reoccurring. So when you get stuck in the same kind of pattern, then you need to become self-aware to change that. And something that you've learned is running the show, and that you need to really get on board with and create change. So the choices, the work or the effort that you put into doing something about the problem, but if you're stuck in a problem, after a while, if you've learned something, it becomes like your brain functions in a certain way. Then it's not so much about choice, it's become habitual, but then your choice is to create the change. And I like to make that difference so that it helps people to change their beating, their self-beating or their critical mind. And how I phrase it, it's not your fault that you've learned something, but you can now change it so that you can kind of be aware, okay, these things, these sequence of events happened in my life, and now I'm here struggling with these thoughts, these feelings, anxieties, fears, et cetera, that are causing problems, but now I can do something about it, and that's where the choice comes in.
So then is it fair to say, okay, it's not your fault because you were unconscious,
Yes.
but now you have the choice because you're becoming conscious?
That's right, and it's your
Okay.
choice to keep becoming conscious,
Okay.
which can be very scary, which is where my work comes in.
Okay. Do you have a question? Because I have a question if you don't.
Well, So, no, you're not a psychiatrist,
No,
right?
I'm a psychotherapist.
A psychotherapist. So,
Yes.
because some people have talked about that psychiatry
Right.
is dead because today all those therapies are they're
Psychotherapy?
Psychiatry?
Psychiatrists
Right.
really all they do these days is prescribe drugs now, pretty much. That any kind of alternative treatments that they might have employed before, they're no longer using today. It's all drugs with
Psychology.
psychiatrists. So,
Okay.
but it sounds like what you're doing is sounds like you have an effective actual therapy that's an alternative to drugs.
Yes, it is. Now, I don't like to get myself set up one against the other,
Yeah.
for one thing, because everything has its place and position. So when you want what I'm doing, then you come to me. So, yes, I don't prescribe drugs, and my work is about dealing with the root of the problem, getting to the root, dealing with not with the effect, but the source. And really going deep into what has the base of it and how you can create change at a deep level. It is inner work. It definitely is very empowering for the person, and it is designed to create change and effect holistically, mind, body, and to get the person to not just see themselves, but see how they can change. And so it's like in that way, like I said, it's very empowering, and it is reconstructive. So you challenge yourself at the base and then create change. So it is designed, as you said, to really answer those what traditional drugs cannot meet. Absolutely.
So is it in the same, because there's psychiatrists, there's psychologists,
Yes.
and there's psychotherapists.
Yes.
So I know from your explanation what you said, where
Right.
psychiatrists are, I would say, are on this side.
Right.
Are psychologists in the middle and psychotherapists on this side, or is there a crossover? I'm not sure where those
Yeah, no,
two...
it's a very good question. You know, psychiatrists come from a medical model, so they've gone through the medical model, and they've then learned, treatments. And in terms of, yes, they mostly would be more biochemically based.
Right.
Psychologists are not like going through a medical discipline and then like a psychiatrist then become specialized in psychiatry, but they could go into other fields of medicine as well. So that's their field of medicine, the mind. A psychologist isn't coming from a medical model. A psychologist goes through a specific type of training, and then you come out with a psychology degree.
Like Bob Newhart.
And then...
Psychiatrist? No, he's psychologist.
And then
This is funny.
psychotherapists will be... Social workers would be considered psychotherapists, for instance, things like that.
So it's more talk.
No. I mean, it's in any field, by the way, anyone
Okay.
can then decide how they're going to pursue their discipline.
Okay, so I guess what I'm asking is, how would I know if I want to see somebody? How would I know if I want to see? I have a clear definition of a psychiatrist. Okay, so
Yes.
I don't want to biochemically treat my body. Okay, I want to look at the core, not the symptoms. How do I know if I should be going to a psychologist or a psychotherapist?
Well, you'd really want to look at how they're how they are treating, and everyone will have a
Okay.
different model.
Okay.
It's not. There are so many.
see.
Like
Okay.
somebody
Okay.
might be like the most traditional right now, or a lot of very commonly placed approaches is, which you'll hear a lot of people talk about all the time. You'll hear about like cognitive behavioral therapy. Psychiatrists will use that too. That's
Okay.
very.
Okay.
That's very. It's pretty across the board. For
Yes,
instance.
I've heard of that as a
And
therapy.
like anyone can learn it nearly, so to speak. Nurses will practice it, for instance, things like
Okay.
that. So,
Okay.
So you have, so it's me, and I just threw out one that's very well known and very well established. So then you're just looking at how do they treat you? What is their methodology? And so there's a lot of mindfulness is now in the discourse. There's a lot of things now being included. It just depends on where a person is coming from, what their study has been, and what their orientation is. So it does become quite specific, actually. So those are the questions a person can ask when they're investigating.
Makes sense. You have a question?
Um,
I have a question if you don't.
Go.
Okay.
Not that I don't,
Okay.
but go.
Boomerang Effect.
Yes.
The name of the book. Is this something like, I think what comes to mind for me and probably a lot of people are when you say what you get out, you get back, I think about law of attraction.
Right. No, it doesn't go into that. It comes from my work, self-imaging therapy, and like I said, self-imaging therapy is a very internal process.
Okay.
So you asked me a little earlier, if I backtrack just a little bit to the earlier question when you said, is my attitude coming from my work? And my work comes from me, and that's true. I started developing this work nearly over 20 years ago, and I had been, always into personal growth, personal development, always into that. And I wasn't getting the results that I wanted. And when my marriage failed at the time, and I hadn't gotten the results that I wanted, and I was so longing to, I want change, and I was doing everything. I was doing meditation, I was going for treatment, I was doing all kind of things. And I still wasn't the old patterns were still running the show. I wanted to get deeper into the parts of myself and create that change. And that's how I developed my work. And from there, the process got developed. I started implementing it with other people, and the work was born. It created so much change for me, and then my system was born. So I have the privilege from doing my work, which I feel very honored to have, that I get the insight into people inside themselves, because the work is like an inner journey, like watching a movie of yourself, where you, like I said, you go into the core of the problem and reconstruct. So I have a lot of privilege of seeing deep into the psyche. And so that has taught me and helped me see that we all have the same kind of patterns, and that create our problems. We all respond in the same ways to things, and that's where this comes from. So the boomerang effect is how we get stuck, and the patterns of behavior that I consistently see as people's reactions or response, their coping styles that are unhealthy, no matter what your conditioning is. And it's dealing with those, because everybody thinks they want change, but these are what get in the way.
Okay, that's well put. That's well
So we want to. What I'm looking at there is what gets in our way, because everybody what am I struggling with? Why can't I create this change? What's getting in my way? That feeling of being stuck, we struggle with.
And that's something that a lot of people are, probably everybody, right? At some point.
Yes.
Or to some degree, is stuck somewhere.
Somewhere.
Right? So
Well, and even when you get unstuck,
Yes.
as soon as you get back out there,
Something.
because we're almost encouraged to be stuck.
Right.
Do you,
by the Illuminati.
and others, including our own family and
Absolutely.
our work, and of course the media, which I guess would be the Illuminati. But I mean, so it's really hard when you're getting unstuck, because there's things that want to kind of keep you back, and you almost feel like you're not part of that anymore when you start. Do you find that happens with people?
Well, the thing is, in my work, I really move it towards the self, not what's outside of you, because we can't control all the things around us, but we really can control what's inside of us. And I know that's a cliche. People say it all the time without a real understanding of how that is actually occurring. And when people actually go inside and observe themselves through my work, they actually start to see exactly what's going on inside of them. And that's what they can take control over. And then how that's impacting their world. Now, I'm not saying that does not cancel out the very real, external world that we're existing in. However, when we get stuck in like you talk about being stuck, we can really get stuck in patterns of thoughts, emotions that as a result, they just become self-fulfilling prophecies. So if we believe we can't trust anyone, if we learn to be suspicious, then that's the lens through which we're going to see things. When we learn not to to see ourselves in negative terms, that's the lens through which we're going to see things, and then that's going to then inform our reality. We're going to project that everywhere. We're going to see things in that way. So in my work, I do create the power develop the power where we really can have control, which is over what's going on inside of us. And that's really, really the hardest thing to do, because to actually step back and observe ourselves and to be aware of what's our emotions and our thoughts. But that is so empowering at the same time. And it really does impact then how we exist in the world, how we respond to the world, and then actually how we move through the world. And I've seen so many people, as they free themselves emotionally and mentally, then it does free them in their lives. Their lives, external lives change, opportunities come, because they're not stuck in this kind of self-narrative, personal narrative. And I say that with caution only because I don't want any viewer out there to be thinking blaming themselves. I'm always a little cautious, because I deal with the blaming mind and the critical mind so commonly that you don't really want to get into thinking, oh, I'm the problem. I'm saying if you want change, that's really where you can start, and it can be really empowering and effective.
So although it sounds like almost everybody could benefit from the work that you do, but who really, who's going, what are, who are the people that should really come and see you or consider getting in touch?
Right. Great question. And I do get people from all across the board, and you're right. And I mean, of course I'm biased. Of course I'm going to say everybody could benefit, but it's not for everyone. And I totally respect that. I think that that's true. I think that, so really, I am like a GP, so to speak. I deal with everyone. I deal with, all kind of different relationship problems, anxieties, fears. And that's the beauty and the privilege that I have as well, because it gives me a broad scope. Anyone struggling who wants to be liberated from what it is that they're struggling with, that we don't have to keep struggling. There is within us that we can actualize, we can find within ourselves what it is that we're seeking. My work really is about yourself, going in your relationship with yourself, developing parts of yourself, because you talked about the world and things around us, and it's true. If this is all you've ever experienced, let's say for instance you've been criticized all your life, that's the only world you're going to know. You're going to then criticize yourself. You're going to be we tend to move in towards the world that we know rather than away from it. A lot of us repeat the world that we know because it's comfortable, and that's what I hear everyone say.
And we don't know we have a choice, honestly.
No, we don't. And we don't, because we're comfortable in it. People will say, well, I'm in this particular relationship because it's all I know and I'm comfortable. If I feel like a loser, I don't want to be with someone who is really succeeding, because I'm going to feel more like a loser. So I'm going to want to be with someone who is equally struggling. So as a result, you're drawn to where that comfort zone is, because it's threatening outside of that. So you can't get unstuck, because it's threatening to the unknown world. Even when it's positive, it's threatening. We tend to protect the world we know.
And I think that's where the saying, the better the devil you know, comes from.
Absolutely. And so what I try to do in my work, and what I do, that's what the work does, is create that from inside. So instead of always looking outside, we tend to think the world is the problem. This is happening, that's happening. And so instead, it's like understanding these are my emotions, my thoughts, and being so much more aware of how we are projecting and how the world is triggering us, rather than us blaming the world, and then dealing with those triggers, and then liberating ourselves from being stuck in our known world. So if we only know anxiety, we're going to keep feeding that storyline and that narrative. And we can liberate ourselves by understanding, say, calm inside of us. If we only think of ourselves in negative terms, once we start to develop inside of us and see ourselves in a wholly different light, then we can liberate ourselves from that. But what I do in the work is have people find that inside themselves. Yeah. So they actually develop this emotional and mental muscle, so to speak. So if you don't know your self-worth, it's a theory until you start to really feel it, not think it. You can't just like, oh, I love myself, but inside you really, self-talk is all, and knocking yourself down, and you're beating yourself up, and you're not dealing with that. So it's really about cultivating that whole new feeling state. You feel something and you perceive another understanding of yourself, and then you walk with that into the world. And it changes how you function. It changes your relationships. It changes what you move towards. So you talked about the law of attraction. I would, in my work, I construct it more in terms of what we choose to move towards, which is more empowering. I move towards this because I now understand that I'm worth this.
Right.
And if I think I'm worth nothing, I move towards relationships that are very unhealthy. So if I'm in a room with a whole bunch of people and I don't know my worth, and someone comes over to me who is like, you know, positive, I might not feel as comfortable as I would if someone, and you know, I'm more drawn to something else. So it's more that what you learn to be drawn towards.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, so if somebody is listening to this and they're resonating and they go, yeah, I got to go see that Dr. Nicola Bird, like, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
Well, they can find me on my website, www.drnicolabird.com, or just nicolabird.com as well, www.nicolabird.com. And they can email me at Nicola@drnicolabird.com. That's DRNICOLABIRD. It's just like birds that fly.
Because that's what you help people to do.
That's right. People ask me if I've made up my name, but no.
Okay, and of course, people can also get their hands on the book. I'm assuming on their website there's links where
there are links to it. You can find it on Amazon.
Okay, Amazon too. So the Boomerang Effect, how you can take charge of your life. So thank you, Dr. Nicola Bird.
Thank you for
coming
having
on
me.
the show.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Actually, you know, and we have that video now. This is like that video from your website where you're talking about what self-imaging therapy is. So we're going to watch this, give people a good taste of that, and we're going to come back with, I think Kyla Dixon-Muir is coming on right after this. We'll be right back.
What makes self-imaging therapy so unique is that it's deeply experiential. And I think anything that we do that is not in theory but in practice, we really embody it, and it's a very deep learning and a very deep healing.
Delve in right to the problem, the core problem, and it actually goes right to the issue, and it's dealt with a lot quicker than traditional therapy. I'd say what I do a month here is a year in traditional therapy.
That Nicola's therapy is the missing link. Within each session, I actually located a block that had been, I guess, inhibiting me in some way that I wasn't aware of. And not only did I look at it, I could actually resolve it. And I could see the results in my life immediately.
It's sort of like taking the talk therapy to the next level. Really connect with the deep down feelings that when you just do talk therapy, it's too easy to skirt around.
It gave me the experience of going deeper and actually helping myself on a real level, not just in my head.
I integrate all the different parts of me into a more loving connection. It's incredibly freeing and so powerful.
You can alter within the therapy that it just helps to move things through you, through me anyways. It's helped me move things through me and just lighten the load in a very literal sense.
I can't believe the shifts and the transformations that I've been able to make. Things that I just never thought I'd be able to do in my life, I'm doing them, and I have so much more courage, resilience, and whereas before in my life I was always looking outside of myself for everything, like outside of myself for validation, outside of myself for comfort, for love. I've learned to love myself, I've learned to take care of myself, feel more at home in my own skin. And so more and more I feel that no matter where I am, I'm at home.
It's been hugely helpful. I mean, it's given me a lot of power in my personal life and in my work life. I have a successful business, which I really don't believe I could have had without this kind of work. It just has made me a much happier person.
Stronger, more confident, more able more self-confident, self-loving person. I have the tools to be able to keep working whenever I feel that I'm coming up against an obstacle, and I know that I'm able to solve my problems and stay on track.
It has changed my life. Well, I'm phenomenally more healthy. I care for myself much more deeply.
Hi, I'm Dr. Nicola. I am the founder of Self-Imaging Therapy, a psychotherapist and a speaker, and welcome to my website. I created and developed self-imaging therapy to help people transform their lives from the inside out, creating the kind of changes that they want for themselves. This site is not just information-based, it is also interactive. You can download information, check out videos, even send me your questions. It is regularly updated, so you can come back and check me out anytime. Thank you so much for visiting the site. I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Well, the really big difference is that before I was always talking about what was wrong. And so it was like my life became more about what the problem was. And I was also completely disconnected from my body and my feelings. I was just like a yapping head. And nothing ever seemed to change very much. And in this work, I find that the inner work leads to outer changes. Changes in my relationships, changes in my work.
Traditional therapy where you kind of like sat on a chair and intellectually had a clear idea of what was going on inside of you, but it never really shifted anything in an emotional and very deep level. And you kind of have to do that to really shift who you are, and then just, you know, and then find more power.
I cannot recommend more highly working with Nicola, as I think that she really helps heal and address your body, mind, and soul, and basically your whole life will be transformed.
And we're back here on the show, and we have Kyla Dixon-Muir joining us for the second time.
Yes.
Right, Kyla?
Yes.
Although we did see you, actually, you've been here the last couple of weekends, haven't you?
I have, yes.
Enjoying
Yes.
the space.
Yep, absolutely. Missing the old elevator.
Yeah.
But
Well,
enjoying the space out here.
Anyway, great to have you back on the show. And the one thing I remember from the last time that you were here, because of course I'm interested in this subject, but was cold frames, which, if I remember correctly, was a way to grow all kinds of stuff in the winter right here in Toronto.
Yes.
Or in Canada. And but we're having a very cold winter this year and lots of snow, and I'm just wondering, how's the lettuce crop?
Well, things are hibernating at the moment.
Okay.
But plants that are established in the fall, even late fall, may freeze for a time, but that doesn't necessarily mean they die. It just means that they wait until the sun gets stronger, or the weather gets warm.
Do they hold their nutrition?
Yes,
They do.
They pretty much just stop growing until the weather gets warmer, and it doesn't necessarily have to mean the temperature of the air. If I keep the tops of the frames brushed off and the sun can get in, you know how in the summer the sun will heat the inside of your car or come in through the windows in your home. That great furnace in the sky, I call it, does amazing things heating small little spaces in the garden.
Even in the wintertime.
Well, we can feel it
Keeps your
even
car
now.
warm. Yeah, that's what I'm
even
saying.
now,
yes.
the days are getting longer, and the sun, even if it's a cold, cold day, can be very bright and quite warm and nice to be in.
Absolutely, yes.
Right? So it is starting to come back. Of course, it always does. Until one day.
You know what, though, Kyla? I don't understand how come you aren't huge. You should be huge with what you do, because what you do is so economical. I have a moving mic. What you do is so economical and so available to everybody. How come everybody does not know about this, including myself? How come?
I don't know. I do speaking engagements all across southwestern Ontario. We've been filming my speaking engagements and the tours that I do in the garden for a long time, and I'm in the process of editing those now. The CD Saturday season is starting. Lots of people at the CD Saturday events know me.
What is this? The CD, SEEDY,
Yes.
not CD.
Is Jacob responsible for that name?
I don't think so. It was started by the left coast hippies more than 20 years ago, I believe.
We've got some of those here in
So,
the studio.
yes.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's a movement that started on the West Coast, and it's about the idea of saving heirloom, organic, open, unpollinated seeds. And there are wonderful events. A company called Seeds of Diversity Canada is backing all of this, and there are 4 or 5 events in the Greater Toronto area, and CD Saturday events happening in Mississauga and Guelph and everywhere around southwestern Ontario, beyond just here, but they happen all across Canada. So
Why don't we have a reality show with you? Here we have a reality show on border crossing. Have you seen that show?
No.
It's in Vancouver, and it's where it's literally the border patrol people speaking to people coming into the country. So we have something like that, which to me is so insignificant.
This is a good reason why people should cancel their cable right now. Seriously, like.
But and we should have you on either the Life or Discovery or the Home and Garden or something. I mean, because it's so educational. I just, why aren't you picked up?
well, I'm moving in that direction. I really like to have my hands in the dirt. My personal website is mudpies.ca because I really like having my hands in the mud in the garden. I am user-friendly to technology, but I'm doing the work and doing the research and developing this practice, and I've just been in the garden with my head down doing that so much that I'm only out here and there speaking on rare occasions. But
wow.
The DVDs that I'm putting together now should take that the next step.
Do you have a greenhouse?
I have a one-bedroom apartment without even a balcony.
Okay.
I live in a very humble environment, but I look after a school board greenhouse part of the year.
Yeah.
But cold frames are not a greenhouse.
No, I understand that, but I mean, it's just like, I hear you when you, I feel you when you say, you like to get your hands in the dirt. I really enjoy, the garden thing as well, right?
Yes.
And I love to
Yeah,
be
but
able
you're
to,
a garden yuppie. I wouldn't consider you. I mean, I consider Kyla the real deal.
Oh,
I'm
thank
just
you.
look, I'm just saying, I mean, Kyla, and I think you would agree, really everybody, it's good for the soul to get your hands in the dirt and to
Absolutely.
grow some food, right?
Yes.
Yeah, even if you are a yuppie.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
So can we talk a little bit about what cold frames are? Because you said they're not a greenhouse.
No, they're not a greenhouse. They don't have to use any electricity at all. It can just be done with the power of the sun. There are three basic concepts behind cold framing. One is to control the amount of moisture, and that is rain during the milder seasons, snow and ice, and the crush of snow and ice at this time of year. And they control the amount of condensation inside the frame according to how much you water it and according to how much sun is coming through. They also control the amount of wind, and wind carries grit, so when you're putting new little seedlings in, the particles of grit can really challenge new little seedlings. So you're controlling against moisture, and you're controlling against the chilling effects of wind, and you're controlling for maximizing the amount of heat that comes into the frame from that great furnace in the sky, the sun.
So how much of a rocket scientist do you have to be to know this stuff?
You don't have to be.
Okay.
You don't have to be.
Because
at
that
all.
sounds to me like it's a lot of information to know. And for someone like me, which is probably a lot of people out there who are just used to going to grocery store and buying my stuff, that sounds like a lot to know.
I use simple little square boxes. I use recycled wire cages that you can get from bird cages or guinea pig cages or rabbit cages or those modular drawer shelves. Turn them upside down, I stitch plastic to it, and that becomes a passive greenhouse, and that's all you need.
That's amazing. So you can actually do this in your apartment without even a balcony?
No, I don't
Okay, it has to be outside.
It has to be outside,
Okay,
and it
okay.
has to be mounted to or attached to terra firma. It's not something that can be successfully done in small planters up sitting on the edge of your balcony railing, because the freeze and thaw cycles expand and contract
Okay,
the
okay.
soil, so that stresses the root system of the plants.
Now, what is terra firma? Earth?
Earth.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
The ground, a garden bed,
so,
soil.
So even an outdoor balcony would not be a good idea.
No.
Okay.
No.
Unless
People
it's
ask me-
terra firma.
Yeah. If it was an entire significant green roof, yes, you could probably do that. But you need a significant mass of soil in order to make it effective.
Aren't there some buildings in Vancouver that are doing this kind of thing where they're having some sort of...
Yeah, green roofs.
There are
Yeah.
green roofs even here in
In
Toronto.
Toronto.
There's some
Okay.
really interesting green roofs here.
And you could do it on a flat roof, couldn't you? Because you
You
got
could.
the house is underneath is kind of keeping the warmth,
Yes.
right?
You'd-
So
you'd-
that it, yeah,
You'd have to have a significant soil mass. You can't
Yeah.
do it in little window box planters.
Right.
Not if you want to do it through the winter. You can certainly get something started a little bit earlier if you've got a big enough shelter around it. So if you were using a small planter, you would have to have a frame that was clear on all sides and came right down over it, like, for example, a large aquarium.
Okay.
Upended
okay,
over
okay.
a small planter. You might get a little bit of head start that way. But to effectively grow outdoors right through the winter, you need either to be right on the dirt or in a large raised bed like you see on the cover of my book or some of those brochures. See that one on the book there? That's built out of old recycled futon frames.
So-
It cost nothing.
so there's the book, and I don't know, and now we've got a few other things. I don't know which camera we're on right now, but we've got this other array which shows this book and another book called Mother's Garden and a bunch of other stuff, Kyla.
Yes.
So including vinegar, right?
Yes.
So which should we talk about first, about all that stuff?
Well, I will have all of that stuff at the different Seedy Saturday events that we're going to be at across the city over the next 6 or 8 weeks. And we'll definitely be at the Canadian Organic Growers Annual Conference this coming Saturday.
And where is that?
That is downtown Toronto. If you Google
I saw an ad for it on the subway, actually.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yep, exactly. So down
Getting
near
out
City
there.
Hall. Yes,
It's
exactly.
great to see.
Yep.
It's now it's not seeming so bizarre to see the word organic. It's becoming a little more mainstream.
Yes, it is, yes.
Which hopefully means it will be a little more affordable as well, because in some places that can be organic. It's a reason to charge more money.
Yes, if people are buying, I saw what was on your show at the end of last week about natural,
Oh yeah,
which
yeah.
that was delightful to see. Yes, real organics are grown with a lot of thought to the land and to the type of seeds, and those foods are far more dense and nutritious. So they may seem pricey, but if you spend any amount of time in the garden and understand the amount of labor it goes into to producing those things, it's a whole different world than factory food.
You know, that's a good, now I wanted to, that reminds me of this one pamphlet that you have here, Maximize Food Production in Small Spaces. Now, I think I heard something recently that, because, you know, the size of the average farm in Canada has been going up and up and up as
Yes.
families have been leaving the rural environment, and economically the farmers need more and more land to keep it viable economically. But what I heard was that there is the food production per acre is actually higher for smaller farms, and if farmers employ certain techniques that are more organic than the factory farming of the mass fertilizers, the big tractors, and all that kind of stuff.
That's absolutely true, and our community garden is an organic garden, and we practice growing a multiple of different vegetables in the same small spaces, as opposed to doing something monoculture like the big agricultural corporations do. And that mimics nature, and that means that for example, if you had acres and acres and acres of exactly the same strain of corn and some sort of pest got into it, well, it's going to affect all of that.
And that's what we see when we drive across Ontario.
Yes.
We just see these giant farms with all, all soybeans over here and all corn over here and all wheat over here, right? Yeah. It's really not the way nature, like that's not how a forest is or a jungle or even a field. Right?
Exactly, and that's the way we do it in the community garden. If you look at the picture on that brochure, it's strawberries all around the outside of the raised bed, and squashes in it that went in after the lettuces came out from the winter.
Yeah.
So we interplant and we mix. There are strategies. There's a great book on this sort of idea of interplanting called Carrots Love Tomatoes, because you can actually plant carrot seeds, for example, in under the tomato plants, and they complement each other. There are some, it's a science, so it's not something you can just get great success with just any combination, but there are many ways to plant a bunch of different varieties together that benefit each other.
Yeah.
There's an old native practice called Three Sisters, where you plant squash seeds and they spread across the ground, and you plant corn and it grows tall, and you plant beans that will grow up the corn stalk.
Wow.
Three Sisters, yes.
Wow.
So that's a really great old practice, an organics practice that makes wonderful use, and the plants grow in harmony and support each other,
and that's something you're not going to get on a factory farm. You're just going to either plant the corn, or you're going to plant the beans, or you're going to plant the, what was the other one?
yes,
Squash.
Exactly, the squash.
So,
Yep.
okay, I have 3 questions, practical type questions. Okay, so number 1, how much space would you need to feed maybe a family of 2 kids and 2 parents, so
Yeah.
a family of 4?
A self-sufficient family.
Yep, and number 2, so how much space would you need, number 1? Number 2, do you need to be there every day? Do you need to attend to it every day? And because if people are going on vacation or whatever. And number 3, where would you put it? Like, does it have to be in a sunny area, or could it be in a shade? Like, what would a person consider when they're looking for that lot?
Food gardens generally require a minimum of 6 hours of direct sunlight, preferably longer.
Okay.
For cold framing, you actually need south-facing space, because south is where the predominant sun comes from. As far as how much space to feed a family of 2 adults and 2 children, that's going to depend entirely on what it is they like to eat. Some plants grow very quickly, and you can get 3 crop rotations in the same space over a period of time. Other things take much longer to grow.
Okay.
So it's a hard question
You really
to
have
answer
to look
directly.
at the likes and dislikes of what the family, and kind of customize it.
Exactly,
Okay.
and you have to look at whether what you want to grow. We have a lot of berries in our garden, and those are perennial plants that grow every year, like raspberry canes and blueberry bushes and saskatoons and such. So those plants are perennials that grow in the same space year after year. Other plants in our climate are considered to be annuals, where you plant the seeds every single spring. And that would be like tomatoes, which we generally start indoors because otherwise the season isn't long enough for them, or squashes like zucchini, which grow very quickly, and you can grow other things in the space before it gets hot enough for them to go in, and then they get put in as what's called a succession crop. So
Okay, and do you have to attend to it every day?
pretty much.
Okay.
You can walk into a garden with expectations of your own on what needs to be done, but there are a lot of people who practice something called mindfulness gardening, where you go and you spend a little time and you look, and Mother Nature will tell you what needs to be done.
Okay.
Oh, all of a sudden there are tomato worms on the tomatoes, and that's what I need to tend to today, regardless what agenda I've come here with. So yes, it depends on the weather. With cold framing, I don't necessarily have to be there every day, because especially at this time of year, things are hibernating. But in the middle of blazing heat in August, in full sun conditions, when we haven't had rain for 2 weeks, you better be prepared with the hose quite regularly.
Okay, wow.
Okay, now, Kyla, I'm going to ask you a weird question.
Okay.
I might have asked it the last time, because it's the kind of question I would ask. But you know that finned horn in Scotland. There's like a little... Anyways, the thing is, it's a very inhospitable environment, and yet they do very well, I understand,
It's
growing
a food?
Yeah, they grow food there.
Plant?
It's a place in Scotland where they grow food.
Oh.
So my question is, because I understand they work with nature spirits,
Oh,
and I'm just wondering if you work with nature spirits. And, you know, when you're going into the garden, I don't know, they're like little leprechauns or something that live in a garden. I know it's a weird question.
all kinds of people have all kinds of approaches. Some people work with spirits. Some people plant by the moon and sow by the phases of the moon. There are so many different disciplines. The spirits that I see in the garden are the bunnies and the frogs, and we were graced with a red fox.
But did they eat all your food?
No. They take the rats and the mice. And we're very grateful to see them. But we had a whole summer just a couple of years ago, right in downtown Toronto, where we had a red fox coming through. I have video of him. The first time I saw him, I was, the equivalent, I was less than the distance across this table from him. I turned around to reach for a tool, and he was just sitting there looking at me.
I know. I've seen a red fox on Sherbourne Street in Toronto before, so I know they're around.
Yeah, so I consider those my sort of friendly spirits, if you will, in the garden. There are cats that come through, and bunnies, which I think is why the fox comes in, and an amazing number of creatures.
I also think, too, you just, you say you love being in the dirt, and I think that for you is a very spiritual, I think you just really are the whole thing when it comes to, I think you are the spirit. I don't think you really need anything, because I think that you are it. And when you say, when I asked you how much do you have to go there, and you said, well, you let the earth and you let, them speak to you. And you may plan on going there for this reason, but you may go there and it's because of the weather or whatever else, you have to do something completely different and change your agenda accordingly. So that really is speaking to having that relationship and listening to what they're telling you they need.
Yes, absolutely. I find that so often. I used to go to the garden with a list. I'm going to do this and this and this and this and this. And the garden taught me over time that it's fine. I can have my agenda. And if things there are copacetic, I may be able to accomplish some of it. But sometimes I get there and the pole beans have grown like crazy, and I need to spend some time twining them up. Or there's been a nice balance of water and sun, and the squash need to be trellised in a different way. Or you just have to go and
the
see.
flow.
Yeah, exactly.
So, no, we didn't talk about the vinegar yet, but I want to ask you about that.
Yes.
So tell us about that.
That came about as a very happy accident some years ago. We had a bumper crop of berries, and here again is where I just had to pay attention to what was going on. I had frozen berries, and I had made jam, and I had dehydrated berries in the oven, and I had eaten all we could stand to eat fresh and put them in pancakes and everything I could think to do with them, and the berries kept coming, and picking the berries is a very time-consuming thing to do. This very old Ontario native species, it's called informally called a black cap raspberry. Its Latin name is Rubus occidentalis, and it's a little tiny, whereas a regular raspberry is a big long cone. This is a little tiny flat button of a berry, and like most native species, it grows in ways to protect itself. So it has thorns on it like a rose on its stems, as opposed to the fine little prickles on the modern bred raspberries. So picking them is a challenge, but I was picking and picking and picking and picking, which takes time, but it's a lovely thing to do. And I got home and it's like, there's no more room in the freezer. It's too hot to make more jam. What am I going to do? I had a bottle of apple cider vinegar there, and I just dumped the berries in the vinegar and thought, well, let's see what happens. And it was a hit. And we now use a commercial kitchen to brew this, and our community garden, yes, our community garden has no funding. We're the oldest community garden in Toronto. There has never been government support, and there have never been any grants or fundraising. We're on school board property, but we're not connected to the school, so that means we're out of reach to all the municipal
Programs,
and federal and provincial programs, and it's too much bureaucracy to try and write grants and get that put through the school board process. So this is why maybe you haven't heard more, is because I'm just busy there in the gardening,
Doing your
keeping
thing,
things going
yeah.
with the volunteers. But yeah, the berries were something we just had to do quickly, and we will have the vinegar at the Canadian Organic Growers Conference on Saturday. Normally it's exclusive to the Withrow Park Farmers Market because it is a very small craft project, as opposed to, like, even microbreweries are vast quantities compared to what the vinegar is. But yeah.
So this would be good for salads, things like that, like regular vinegar type stuff?
Yes, it's a very strong, and it's raspberry apple, which is really Canadian.
Do you make the vinegar yourself too?
No, we buy the vinegar. We
Okay.
buy the best Ontario produced,
Organic
raw,
apple
organic,
cider. Wow.
pasteurized, unfiltered apple cider vinegar, and then we infuse the berries in it. And then as far as what we do with it, my favorite thing is to mix it with maple syrup. No oil, no other herbs, just raspberry apple maple, which is, I think, the ultimate in Canadiana.
But then what do you do with that?
I put that on everything from salads to ice cream.
Whoa.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, is it good on vanilla ice cream?
Well, plus it cures stuff, right?
Yes.
The apple cider
Yep.
vinegar. Like I was saying before we started, I cured myself of a cold just last weekend.
Yes, I remember I brought you some
Yeah.
last time I was here, and you had a cold, and you emailed me afterwards saying that was really tasty.
And you've heard that before too,
yes,
right?
absolutely.
About that
yeah.
stuff?
Apple cider vinegar is a wonderful healing item, but this just makes it taste all that much better.
I have a very quick question. I just need to know, how do you know all this stuff?
I read a lot, and I just keep experimenting. I find it really fun. I get an idea and I take it a certain direction, and it either works or it doesn't work, and then I just go from there. And when I'm doing my speaking engagements on cold framing or on maximizing production or whichever, I like to talk about my failures as much as my successes, because if I've made that mistake, you don't need to make it again. So
I think we need to have an encyclopedia thing on you.
Oh my.
Really, I do. I think we need, because you know so much about this, and I think this is so valuable for the future, for
Yes.
where we're going and what we need to do. And I think this makes people, it's so empowering for people.
Well, you know, everybody
You're
around
like a
here.
David Suzuki kind of for the food, don't you think?
Well, yeah.
I really do
Well,
think so.
I think more and more people are becoming aware of how important the whole food issue is. Food security, food, organic food, you know,
and
self-sufficiency.
the relationship with food.
Yeah,
Yes.
because
Right? Connecting.
exactly.
And so, yeah, I think it's so important. And this is not something you're really learning in school. That's why I'm thinking the encyclopedia thing, because I don't think we can learn this.
I don't know. All I
you
think,
can, and it's not that hard.
yeah. Well, you're teaching
Well,
in
through
schools
you,
too, right?
but you said you like to learn. It's not really like there's no specific program that takes you to. This is really experiential.
Yes, but we do tours, and I have my book on the subject.
Right.
And because I've been doing speaking engagements all across southwestern Ontario since about 2006, I have years' worth of footage now, and I'm madly editing that together to have it ready for these CD Saturday events and this Canadian
amazing.
Organic Growers Conference this weekend. So,
So you are compiling certainly lots and lots. You will probably have a library at some point.
yes, yes, absolutely.
Well, actually, we do have some of that video now that we're going to watch.
Yes.
Right? And I know you're excited because you're just new to this video thing.
I am very new to editing, and what I brought you today, I just compiled the footage last night and just put the
Wow.
music to it this morning. You
Wow.
are getting
This is a
something
Hot off the
absolutely
press.
brand new. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, and what I brought for you to see today is all the outtakes where I fumble and stumble and
Oh,
just
this
have
is-
great fun in the garden.
Oh, this is good. Okay. So now, before we cut to that, now where can we got the Ontario, the COG Toronto this weekend
Yes,
conference?
that's right.
Canadian Organic Growers.
Yeah, I think it's
Yes.
cogtoronto.com or
Yes.
is the website for
Yep.
people who want to get more info about
Exactly.
that. And
And
you're going to be there. But where else can people find your work and get in touch with
My
you?
personal website is mudpies.ca, mudpies.ca. The Community Gardens website, which has a lot of photos on it of the work of cold framing over the years, is riverdalemeadow.ca.
Okay.
And anyone interested in Seeds of Diversity Canada, who puts on the CD Saturday events, can look at the Seeds of Diversity Canada website, and they list all the events all across the country.
Okay, all right. Well, great to have you back on
Thank
the show,
you.
Kyla. And so we're going to see these outtakes now. These are always fun. So
Well, and also it makes you feel like, you know what, if she's messing up, I can do this too. It makes it real for somebody who knows nothing about this.
Yes.
So it's much more
exactly. And it's something
inviting.
that everybody can get, even if you don't know what you're doing. Like last year, I didn't tell you, I grew potatoes for the first time last year.
Good for you. Aren't the flowers on them pretty?
Well, they're not that pretty.
Oh.
Maybe
No, of
his-
course, they're fab.
He probably did not grow potatoes. He just thinks they're potatoes.
No, I didn't get a lot, but at least I did it. I
Good
knew
for
nothing
you.
about it,
Yeah.
and I got enough for one meal.
Oh, hey.
But now this year I'm going to go back and just try it again, change a couple things up, and see what kind of a better crop I can get. So
sometimes it's just the season. It's not you. I've had years where I get abundance, and I've had years where it wasn't worth the effort, other than the learning curve.
all I'm saying is that no matter what level you're at, it's good to get your hands dirty and try to grow some food.
Thank you.
So.
Thank you for all that you're doing and for the education.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so we're going to watch the outtakes now from Kyla, and we're going to come back right after this with our next guest here on Liquid Lunch.
I guess before I begin, I should say that I've got a friend here who's doing some video for me. I get requests to go and speak as far away as locations like Sudbury, and as a volunteer, it's a little far for me to go in a day. So we're just accumulating footage over my talks. No animals will be killed in the making of this video. No human egos either. What I'd like to talk about today is early head starts in the garden. And generally, I'm not interested in forcing flowers. I like to eat. So I like to grow what I can eat. And
by show of hands, how many of you are already gardeners? Okay, good. Friends, how many of you are food gardeners? Oh, even better. I go to horticultural societies sometimes where they're all about growing flowers, and I say, do you like to eat? Okay, well then it's a good idea to grow some food. If you can speak it, you don't have to speak with Catherine. I'm user friendly. My name's Kyla. What's your name? My name's Wendy. Wendy, nice to meet you. When you're in trouble now, you know. I gotta watch it. Oh, she's not this one. I got lost. Oh, well, that's a four-letter word, young lady.
It is a cold day, just days before winter solstice, and there's plenty of ice in the garden. Like my cold drinks, vegetables are still growing, spinach is beautifully tender and sweet. But I wanted you to have a chance to see spinach that is really sweet. Really nice and protected and fresh, flavorful and soft here on a snowy day in the garden. Spinach salad for dinner tonight.
I did some dumpster diving last night in the recycling bins at our apartment building.
And it's windy out here today.
Now wait just one pea-pickin' minute. It's only the 29th of May. And I have dinner.
I don't know if I can get one out. It's all fixed, but I'm going to try for you. Yes. Nice sandy soil, very sweet, succulent little. And they say we've all got to eat a peck of dirt in our lifetimes. Oh, that is nice. Winter gardening at its finest. Thanks again for joining.
Okay, so there was some cold frames and all that kind of stuff, and so we're ready for spring now, which is going to be around in only a few more months.
And now we've got our physical health looked after because we're eating right. We're going to be looking after our
financial health.
Yes.
We didn't even plan that, but we did plan to have Jennifer Black on the show today. And Jennifer,
Hello,
welcome
Jennifer.
to Liquid Lunch.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So now you're a financial planner, is that accurate? Just
Yes.
so we can, get down to it. And I know we've got a book that you've written, which we're looking forward to discussing, but that's not everything you do. So let's talk about your practice as a financial planner for a little bit. First of all, how did you get into that?
Well, actually, I got into it because I had a previous career. I was an athlete, and I got injured. I played tennis professionally, and when I came back to Canada after getting injured, my mother was actually in this industry, and she was a chartered accountant background. So we actually, sat down, kind of talked about what she was doing, and I came in and helped her, and really found that I enjoyed what I was doing and helping her, and what she was doing to help her clients. So it really resonated with me that we could really help a lot of people, and so it was over, I guess, almost 11 years ago now that I joined her, and that we've been doing this.
Okay, so now, and you've written this book here too, right? Managing a Loan, and this is really managing your, well, maybe you can just describe what the book's all about.
Yeah, sure. So the book, we actually published that last year, and it was just in the summer, in August, and it's really about providing information in a simple, easy to understand way for widows and widowers. So we've focused on that area a little bit in the last few years, and we really wanted to focus on helping them from a financial perspective, but making it easy for them to understand. So what we did is we actually just took some case studies. So we took stories of people who came to us after the death of their spouse, and told those stories, and then talked about some of the things that they need to do going forward, as well as some of the things that they could have done in planning better ahead.
Right.
So this is not necessarily about after the death of the spouse. It's also planning before, so that you're not stressed out after the death of your spouse, or
Absolutely.
at least less stressed, because obviously you're stressed, but at least that's one element you can take care of.
Absolutely. There's a lot of tips and ideas in there about planning for the eventuality of one of the spouse passing away, but there's also ideas of what people need to do going forward after the death of their spouse.
So, which is, it's unfortunate to have to talk about this, but
yeah.
the reality is that chances are that both spouses are not going to die at the same time, so that one of them, and in fact both of them, should probably be considering or planning for that eventuality at some point, as they're looking forward. Now, and the other thing that I was going to say was that some of the rules, the government rules, the taxation rules, the investment rules, and these kinds of things are often, people have their lives to lead. They can't be thinking about all the little rules that they need to be aware of to plan in an optimal way for their financial well-being, which is why we need people like financial planners who are aware of that stuff, so that they can help people to plan for that eventuality. And it sounds like what you've done here is you saw a need for this particular occurrence, and you concentrated all the knowledge necessary around. Is this a Canadian specific?
It is Canadian specific, mainly because any of the tax information we talk about is going to be Canadian specific. Similarly on the legal side, anything that we would touch on would be Canadian specific. Like you mentioned, there's a lot of little things for people to know and understand in order to make the most of that situation, and really looking at things like the final tax return and things like that. There's things that can be done to minimize taxes in that final year of death, and in knowing everything, it's a lot, and it requires a professional who deals with it all the time.
Yeah, because people are too busy to think about that kind of stuff, and a lot of times you just don't want to think about all that kind of stuff.
And the other thing too is you want to build that trust as well with that person, with your financial planner, so that when something tragic happens, you don't have to spend your time finding somebody new. You've got somebody you can trust who can take care of that, so you can deal with the other things that are more important at that time.
Absolutely, and focus on yourself and your well-being.
Yeah, so I think that's really important too, is to nurture that kind of relationship that, with a financial planner, like you would with people have a relationship with a hairdresser. So and your doctor, so why not with your financial planner? Because it really is personal.
Well,
this is about your.
Yeah, you want to feel comfortable with the person that you're dealing with, and that they have your best, or your financial well-being, your best interest at heart.
Yes.
So now, what kind of people do you work with?
So widows and widowers is one area of our business.
Probably a lot more widowers than widows, right? Because we were talking.
Other way around.
Oh, okay.
A lot more widows. So widows are females, right?
Oops.
Widowers are the males, and so it's about 4 to 1 widows to widowers, generally. And
that's astounding.
And so that's about 20% of our business, working with widows and widowers. The other areas that we've had success in getting clients and working with people is teaching professionals, and we actually have a group of engineers, as well as about 30% of our business is with business owners.
So it's like small business owners? Like entrepreneur type?
Small to medium business owners, yeah. Okay. Not as many entrepreneur type as individuals who have, I guess they would be entrepreneurs, but they've kind of grown their business to a level where they've got, a lot of staff. And
like above 50 employees, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and they're, looking at succession down the road, things like that we can help them with and really work on and make that part of their plan and help them understand implications of that. And then, I was going to say, and then we have a lot of retirees. So that's kind of our biggest part.
I'm just a question about. I maybe I'm wrong, but I'm getting the sense that young people today tend to not have the kind of money available that needs to be managed or planned. That they're basically there's. I just wonder what your sense of this is, because being in the industry as an economic barometer, are there fewer people coming up with the kind of disposable incomes that really needs to have planned or should be planned because they're just living day to day so much?
Well, I think that's a great point that you bring up, because absolutely, it's something that I see, pretty much daily. People are not taking the ownership of their own retirement and saying, I need to actually start doing something if I want to retire. I need to start saving. I need to, just get an understanding of what needs to be done and how much they're going to need and things like that. There's, the teacher's pension. A lot of people look at that and say, oh, well, they're a teacher. They've got the teacher's pension. That's great. How lucky they are. Yeah. But there's a lot of money that is taken off their pay over the years that goes into funding their pension. And if the average person were to just do the same with their own paycheck and take that same percentage out and put it towards their own retirement, it would be, it would be substantial savings, and they would be able to have that type of retirement income.
So you're saying that anybody really, as long as they've got an income, can have the kind of smart, fat retirement plan that the teachers have, because they've got professional money managers managing that giant fund, right?
Absolutely. And I mean, the thing that people need to realize is that those teachers who receive the pension down the road, they have contributed, and a portion of their pay, and a significant portion of their pay, has gone towards funding their retirement. And so it's something that, you know, I see more and more. Like I said, people are not taking the onus on themselves to fund their own retirement, you know, from the day that they start working, like a teacher does. As soon as they start working, it starts.
But is that because, to your point, that they're being squeezed, and maybe is it because they're not taking ownership, or, which I'm sure are some, but also are they not making enough? I mean, I know people now who have so much debt coming out of school.
Yeah, and or that they're struggling even, they you know, because, you know, people say an easy way is, you know, take 10%, just bank it all the time. But if people are just struggling to pay there's not enough month at the end of the money, then how can they put 10% away when they don't even have enough to pay?
So are you facing, because I would think that you would be facing a little bit of an issue with that.
Yeah, you know, I see it later. I don't see it at the time.
Yeah,
so our clients start around 500,000 of investable assets and up. So I see it with clients that are referred to us through accountants who, you know, might have that 500,000, have the expectation that they're going to retire in the next couple of years, but when we do calculations and look at that with them and try to help them understand where they are today, where they're saying they want to be in a couple of years, and what that's going to look like, you know, it's not meeting the goals of what type of income and cash flow they wanted in retirement. So that's really the end that I see it on.
Okay.
But, you know, well, speaking from my own experience, it is difficult to, you know, to manage the income and then the expenses, and then, you know, whether it's going out and trying to buy a home nowadays, you know, is very expensive, and then having children and things like that. You just have to keep in mind that, you know, being able to put that money aside in order to fund your future is important.
I guess, you know, it makes me think that one of the challenges you would have would be, we are such a quick fix society. We don't think necessarily that long term. So we don't think, oh, I need to save this for 50 years down, especially when you're really young. You don't think, oh, I need to save for when I'm 60 because I'm only 25. I mean, 60 seems impossible to reach when you're 25. You know, and you think,
but it comes on quicker than you might think.
Well, I know, but try to tell a 25-year-old that, right?
Exactly.
And it's, you know, out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. So, and we're such a, you know, quick fix, like I said, everything is gimme.
Right.
Not
immediate gratification.
Yes.
That's Sandra. She's very immediate gratification.
It's true, though. It is true that we, you know, we want to see immediate results and things like that these days. But really, you know, it is about taking the time to just understand your situation and see what you can do, and changing that mentality too, right?
Yeah.
You know, you have a TV that works, you probably don't need a bigger, better, brand new one. Maybe wait till prices come down, or, you know, things like that. Where, I mean, as a society, we're starting, you know,
so how much
we
of
get
your role is education then?
A huge part of our role is
I would
education.
imagine,
Huge part,
because that shift in thinking, I would think, would be necessary, because there's not a lot of, you know, a lot of people are not thinking that way, right?
Yeah, I mean, even individuals will, you know, talk about education, the book, right? I mean, that demographic is all education. You know, very often it's the individual who didn't manage the finances who is the one that's remaining, or the surviving spouse. And
wow, how ironic.
You know, I mean, you look at you know, in a family unit, it really is. You know, there's kids, there's finances, there's the shopping, there's you know, everything else that needs to be done, and it really is divide and conquer. So one kind of takes on that role.
Well, it's just specialization, right?
Right.
Like the husband probably, you know, and,
it is still
with
mainly
your ratio that you were saying, where, you know, 4 to 1, the widows are left to deal with the stuff, but chances are the the guy looked after all the financial planning, right?
We are still seeing that.
So when that happens, then that woman is stuck, and they got to start doing stuff that they never did before, right?
And that's it, and that's where the education comes in. So what we do is we don't just make recommendations right away. We help them get an understanding of what they have, you know, what is a mutual fund, what is it for, what is an equity or a stock, and, you know, what is, you know, explain those things to them. How does that work? And what type of accounts do they have? You know, there's some things that have to be dealt with quickly, but for the most part, you have time to explain and get them to understand, so that when you do make recommendations, they can see and understand why those recommendations are being made. They have a bit of a foundation. So that's really a lot of, you know, a lot of education in that type of scenario, for sure.
Well, education, but it sounds like when you sit down with them, your first job really is to listen and just to assess their current situation, which they may not even be aware of, because all of a sudden probably some lawyers dropped all this stuff in their lap and they don't even know how to go through it or how to interpret it. And so you sit down with them and go through the documentation and really assess what they have and where they're at with it. And then only after that can you know, start to formulate a strategy for them. And then the education, I would think, comes in, and you know, you show them what is what and what strategies are best, right?
Absolutely. And a lot of times they don't have the benefit of, you know, everything being dumped on them at once, right? They're waiting for statements in the mail. You know, they get one here, one there. So what I try to do is encourage people to just, you know, have a folder and put it in a folder, and then, you know, bring that in, and we'll sit down and go through it, and we can kind of get organization. Because really there's just so many pieces that they need to put together and understand how those fit together.
So if you could give 3 tips right off the top for people to start thinking that way and moving towards planning for their financial future, what would you say?
So
doable things that somebody can do right now.
Yeah, so the first thing that I would say is, you know, if you're the spouse that doesn't manage the finances, at least become engaged and understand what's happening and where things are. So the first thing is to get engaged and understand what's happening. You know, and just have that conversation once a month, once every 2 months. Have a conversation around it with your spouse. Ask some questions. Get a sense of what's going on. It'll help.
Without tipping them off.
I've had people say that when they take the book that's sitting on their car seat, and husband comes out and says, "What? You know, you want to tell me something?
Something I should know here?"
Yeah. But, you know, so my second tip would really be for the spouse that is managing the finances or that is more involved, write things down. So write down a list of where are the accounts, you know, what's in the accounts, what information would somebody need to have. You know, my in-laws travel a fair bit, and they go down to the down south every winter. And every year before they leave, my father-in-law prepares a document so that we have the information just in case.
Right.
It's in an envelope. We never need to look at it unless just in case, right? But we're informed, we're prepared, we know where to go to find the documents that we need, we know which lawyer to contact, we know, right? Like, that information is important. It gives peace of mind. And you can go online and find some booklets where you can fill in things. You know, we've got one in the office that we provide to clients, so they can just fill out everything. You know, what banks have what investments or what assets or what security deposit box, right? So that would be my second tip. And then my third tip is really something that more recently has come up, and it's something that people who are investing, who you know, are getting to that retirement stage and think that they want income in retirement, they need to sit down and understand the difference between income and cash flow.
Oh.
So income is, you know, not necessarily the most tax efficient, and cash flow can be achieved without the inefficient income, right? So tax inefficiency. So it's just understanding the difference between having income and cash flow.
So it's understanding the system.
Yeah, understanding. Yeah, it's a bit of understanding from a tax perspective.
Okay.
But you know, there's a lot of talk out there about dividend-paying stocks and different things that people should be looking at. And I can give you an example. We had a client whose son-in-law has been helping her since her husband passed away, and the son-in-law called up and said, you know, we'd like, Mom's just sold her condo, and we need to invest the proceeds, and we'd like her to have dividend-paying stocks, a portfolio of dividend-paying stocks. And we were able to show him how she would actually have her old age security clawed back if that was the method of investing that they went through. Whereas if she invested in a different way and was receiving, say, capital gains, and it's understanding the difference in taxes, right? Then the old age security is not going to be clawed back. She can still have her government benefits as well as getting cash flow.
See, that's a good example of why you need a professional financial planner, because often people might think they know what they want, but they don't really understand the full implications.
And how can you know the questions to ask if you don't?
Exactly, because it can be so complicated. The tax environment, all that kind of, which changes all the time too, right? So, but
absolutely,
as a professional, it's your job to stay on top of all that stuff.
Well, and Janet, my business partner and mother, she's a chartered accountant background as well. So
this is your mother?
It is.
See, I was going to ask you that.
So a lot of people think we're sisters.
Oh, my God. But I thought that's a really stupid question, Sandra. Don't even ask her that, because you'd be embarrassing yourself. Holy cow. Okay, you got to buy this book just for that. See what financial planning does to your health. It makes you feel really, really good about yourself. Look at that. It's an anti-aging.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, my God.
We can't zoom in, but the mother and daughter folks, so.
Wow.
Yeah, so
your mom looks amazing. Please tell her that.
I will. Thank you. And so she has that tax expertise and that tax knowledge from being a chartered accountant. So that's one of the areas that we really differentiate ourselves.
So from what you're telling me, because there's so many loopholes that you're talking about, so many different ways to look at this depending on people's lifestyle, it really is unique to each and every person.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's no cookie cutter approach that you can take. You have to look at every situation individually. We meet with our clients quarterly, and we get a lot of kind of pushback in the beginning when we tell prospects that. But in meeting with clients quarterly, we're not meeting and just giving them their statement and saying, this is how you've done, this is what the market's done. We're actually, sitting down with them and accomplishing something at each meeting. So we have one topic that we focus on, and we accomplish something there to move them forward and closer to achieving their goals. And, we know way more about our clients than, just the investments and
there's about
stuff.
Developing that personal relationship, right?
Absolutely. And so everything and all that information all gets taken into account when we're making any recommendations, and then we tweak it as we go, because their situation might change, or they've got other ideas of what they might want to do in retirement than what they thought they might want to do. So so we just
then they change too. Not just the tax environment changes, but they change, and so it's a good idea to it's a moving target. You got to keep working with them.
Most important question. You see them every 3 months.
Yes.
Okay. Do they buy you a Christmas gift?
No.
Because you have developed such a relationship. Because
no,
it's almost
I
like
wouldn't
you become part of the family.
Well, see, it's funny you say that, because we actually had a survey that, anyway, long story short, we had a survey that had to be done. We achieved elite status. Part of that process in achieving elite status, they survey 100% of your clients. So they actually go to your clients to get the feedback to make sure that you qualify for this level of satisfaction. And we, in getting the answers from the survey, some people put their names on it. You can see what they answered, and we always bring it up at meetings and say, that's great. Thanks so much for answering the survey, and, just talk a bit about what they've said. And whenever we ask clients why it is that they are, that they like us, that they refer us, and and recommend us to their family and friends, they always say, inevitably, people say, you know, you're like part of the family. You know, we just get along so well, and we understand, you know, or they say to us that we understand their situation so well, and
that's the greatest compliment.
It's like
I
part
would
of the family.
think.
So,
wow,
So
good
that's
job.
what you need, right? So
Well,
people.
and it also takes the fear away from finance when it feels like that, because there's a real fear around financial planning. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but there really is a fear around that. Sorry.
Okay. Well, I'm just going to say that so if people are resonating with you, and this is what it's all about, really, it's about that relationship. So if people are resonating with you right now, Jennifer, then they should get in touch with you. And what's the best way for them to do that?
So the best way is either to, well, probably just give us a call. So our number's 905-896-8373. And they can visit us on our website as well at www.createwealthnow.ca.
Wow, so that's a good little
and
summary of what you guys do, createwealthnow.ca.
That's right, and we always start off with just a phone conversation to understand their needs better and what they're looking for, and make sure that we'll be able to help them.
So that's a free consultation.
Yes,
And
then we do an in-person one as well to sit down and look at more details, complimentary.
Great. And where in 905 are you?
So we're actually located in Mississauga at Cawthra and Burnhamthorpe.
Okay, great.
So there's a little plaza there.
Okay, great. And if people want to get their hands on the book, Managing Alone, which is probably the best concentration of information for people who are newly alone and trying to manage their finances, where can they get their hands on the book?
So they can find that on our website, and they can also go to managingalone.com.
Oh, great.
Wow.
And find it there.
Okay. That's
All right.
awesome.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming in today, Jennifer. Great to hear all this stuff.
Thanks so much for the opportunity.
So managingalone.com? Okay, great.
Or .ca. Either one will work.
Okay.
They've got all their bases covered.
Okay, we're going to take a little break. We're going to come back with Luke and Julian. We're going to we're going to talk about sacred geometry. They're from the Infinite Source group, so that's right up your alley, Sandra. So we're going to just watch this video now, number 03.
I didn't ask about the leprechauns, okay?
Don't worry about that. We'll get into leprechauns with these guys. So number 03, the Hubble. This is what they pointed the Hubble telescope into a blank part of the sky, and this is what they saw. And we'll be right back.
Betcha leprechauns.
Astronomers in 1996 attempted to do something extraordinary. They pointed the Hubble Space Telescope into a part of the sky that seemed utterly empty, a patch devoid of any planets, stars, and galaxies. This area was close to the Big Dipper, a very familiar constellation, and the patch of sky was no bigger than a grain of sand held out at arm's length. This was a somewhat risky move by the scientists. After all, observing time on this telescope is in very high demand, and some questioned whether it would be wasted trying to look at nothing. There was a real risk that the images returned would be as black as the space at which it was being pointed. Nevertheless, they opened the telescope, and slowly, over the course of 10 full days, photons that had been traveling for over 13 billion years finally ended their journey on the detector of humanity's most powerful telescope. Their feeble signals collected almost one by one. When the telescope was finally closed and the images were processed, the light from over 3,000 galaxies had covered the detector, producing one of the most profound and humbling images in all of human history. Every single spot, smear, and dot was an entire galaxy, and each one containing hundreds of billions of stars. Later, in 2004, they did it again, this time pointing the telescope towards an area near the constellation Orion. They opened the shutter for over 11 days and 400 complete orbits around the Earth. Using detectors with increased sensitivity and filters that allowed more light through than ever before, over 10,000 galaxies appeared in what became known as the Ultra Deep Field, an image that represented the farthest we've ever seen into the universe. The photons from these galaxies left when the universe was only 500 million years old, and 13 billion years later, they end their long journey as a small blip on a telescope CCD. These galaxies, while standing absolutely still, are racing away from us, in some cases faster than the speed of light. The space-time between us and everything else grows larger by the minute, pushing the galaxies in this image to a distance of over 47 billion light years. And because of universal expansion, the farther something is away from us, the more its light is shifted toward the red and the faster it appears to be moving. Edwin Hubble himself discovered this by measuring the redshift of many galaxies, and it's a measure of not only speed, but distance as well. Recently, Hubble scientists put the icing on the cake. Using the measured redshifts of all the galaxies inside the image, they made a 3D model of the ultra-deep field. This is how it looks when we apply the distances of the galaxies in the most important image ever taken. There are over 100 billion galaxies in the universe. Simply saying that number doesn't really mean much to us because it doesn't provide any context. Our brains have no way to accurately put that in any meaningful perspective. When we look at this image, however, and think about the context of how it was made, and really understand what it means, we instantly gain the perspective and cannot help but be forever changed by it. We pointed the most powerful telescope ever built by human beings at absolutely nothing, for no other reason than because we were curious, and discovered that we occupy a very tiny place in the heavens.
Okay, we're back here on the show, and
I'm already high with the sacred geometry stuff.
you are? And you got a candy. You gave me a candy, too.
Maybe it's the candy. Maybe I'm high because, no, I think it's a sacred geometry.
You're not high.
Do you want to be?
But our guests are.
And I hugged him, and so that means I got that, too.
Yeah, thanks for being my energetic field. Yeah, what happened?
So that's Julian Lanny Love, and Luke Love is here as well.
And who, Luke Love?
Yeah,
Okay.
Luke Love, the Love Brothers.
From the 70s.
Not those Love Brothers.
They've time traveled.
Are you guys wrestlers?
Time jumped.
Sometimes.
In another timeline.
We try. Not very good ones, though, I don't think. His martial arts skills are superior.
Okay, guys.
I love your book.
Well,
love
it's
it too.
funny. It's funny. Anyways, okay. So let's get into this. So, are you guys from the Infinite Source group, right? Is that accurate or no?
No, well, I've had a lot of domain names and kind of iterations in my evolution of as a person. So I've like picked many different names to evolve with.
Right.
Right now, I'm really focusing into brain training. So my new company is braintraining.pro, and what we're focusing in on is working with passionate entrepreneurs and really turning on, activating the higher operating system within the human body, and turning on.
Okay, you're not from this planet, are you?
I'm not. No. Nice to meet you.
Hope you guessed my name. Okay. Wait, Julian. So that's the website too, braintraining.pro.
Yeah, it's going to be launched very soon. Just working on it right now. So that's really exciting. Really excited about that.
So
and you guys are working together on this, right?
Luke does this thing. We're friends. We're really good friends.
Okay.
Every time we see each other, we have this kind of interesting look on our faces. You know how when the people say to each other, "Yeah, what's up?" and everybody says, "Well, nothing." Well, we don't get that at all.
You don't even
What
have
do
to
you?
talk, probably, right? You can probably just have that kind of conversation without even talking, right?
We just generally laugh about half an hour, and that communicates most everything that we need to say.
The talking is required because when literally you open the door, you know there's a ridiculous face on one side, and you know there's another ridiculous face on the other side, and that generates enough laughter, for the half hour.
Well, well, it has nothing to do with your hair, though, right?
No, why is it funny?
No, I had a friend with hair like that once, Luke.
And what happened to that friend?
I had the same kind of relationship.
He must
It
have
was
been a
like
cool guy.
we would get together and we would just laugh solid for half an hour. Like just, you know, it was just that kind of a friendship.
You know, I was just at court the other week, and the judge, as I walked up to the bench, I laughed because I did this breathing exercise. And the judge says, "This is not a laughing matter." And I looked at him and I said, "On and for the record, isn't laughter the essence of life?"
You said that to the judge?
Absolutely, I did.
This is not real.
This is real. It happened.
What were you in
So
court
what?
for?
Wait, I want to hear the rest of the story. So what happened?
Oh, I think everybody got really chilled out at that point, and it was really interesting. At one point he said, "This is the law." I said, "Law? This is not law. These are rules. Aren't these like statutes?" And the prosecutor was kind of funny. She said, "Your Honor, he's clearly wasting the court's time with nonsensical questions." I looked at her, and I just didn't say anything to her. I just looked at her, and I thought, wow, isn't she funny? Wow, this is phenomenal. What a cool little game. I was in there for like I turned on a street where there was a sign that says you can't turn at a particular time.
Oh, okay.
And they gave me a ticket. So I got interested in like
The
how
process.
the process and how it works.
Yeah.
So I'm learning the process. It's kind of interesting.
So did you get it? Did you have to pay a fine, or you have to go
Oh, no,
back?
they postponed it. They kind of didn't know what to do with me because the notes that the police officer gave me were illegible. So then I had to pick up the notes again.
Now, did you have a lawyer? I know this is off topic, but did you have a lawyer, or were you in there representing yourself?
Oh, absolutely not. No, I was there as
yourself.
As myself. I did submit an affidavit to the court as well.
It's really interesting that, I mean, that's a whole show right there. We could talk about the whole courts and, you know, their jurisdiction and
Well, I think we
all
should
that
take-
kind of stuff.
So when's your next court date?
March 6th.
We should take a camera crew and go there. Can we do that?
Well, what I can do, Julian, is I can give you a special pair of glasses that have an HD camera built into them.
Really?
Yeah, so you can, like, be there. Even if they don't allow cameras, you'll just be wearing glasses in the courtroom.
Oh, I
They
just got
won't
rid
know.
of my glasses.
But they won't
Might be a
know.
good day to wear one.
But this sounds interesting. I like this idea.
Is that illegal to do?
No, all we have to do is convince the judge to wear a pair too. And we'll have one heck of a reality TV show.
That's fun. I like this.
Okay, so let's get back to brain training, though.
Sure, let's do
Operating
it.
system, a higher operating system?
Yeah, the human body has essentially 2 operating systems within it. So by the time you're around a child, around between the age of 2 and 3, your body chooses which operating system it's going to run. This is kind of like really cool information because, you know, we have this option but that we don't really know of, and most people don't know about the higher operating system. So our bodies default to the standard operating system, or sometimes what we refer to as the lower operating system as well, which essentially runs on a part of your brain called the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus governs your body's chemistry, and the reason that happens is as you go to sleep every day, you collect, essentially throughout the day, your body records memories and stores memories within its body, and it puts them into your muscle fibers and filaments. And what's supposed to happen is that your body is essentially supposed to convert all those memories during sleep. And you're supposed to wake up the next morning with equal to or more energy than you had before you went to sleep.
Based on those memories that your body's converting? Is that what you... Okay, so it's almost like calories in a way.
Calories?
Like food energy.
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
It's more like think about it like a computer that's storing and running computer programs. And if you've got a computer running one program, it's running really efficiently and using up the processing speed to run its thing. But then if it's running like 100 programs at a time, it really bogs down and starts to slow down. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So our bodies are essentially recording data every second. They're picking everything up through our senses. So as kids, it does this, and eventually the hypothalamus makes a calculation within the brain, and the calculation is fairly straightforward. Can I run the way my body is designed right now on the higher operating system, or do I have to force it to run on the lower operating system? And when it makes the calculation that it has to default to this lower operating system, that's essentially this operating system that's going to run on your body. Does that make sense?
So, so what is the higher operating system then? And how do people know, how would I know which one I'm running on right now?
Well, essentially, if your body, like you mentioned about your heart, for example.
Yeah.
So if your body is, the only reason that our bodies deteriorate over time is because of the available energy it has, your body has to run its systems.
Okay.
So the more memories your body's storing,
the slower you run. Just like a computer.
Just like a computer. And the older you get, if you don't train your body to convert your memories for you, the less and less active energy your body will have to run its systems. So the higher operating system is, it runs off the pineal gland, and it runs on light. And what we're doing with brain training is essentially turning on that system and giving specifically, I'm working specifically on entrepreneurs, passionate entrepreneurs, because I'm really passionate about that and upgrading essentially business and how it functions on a planetary level. So our systems are built on, like right now, judgment, punishment, and separation is essentially in a state of chaos. But the higher operating system functions off of harmony and laws of like love and service and support. So we're working on upgrading the body itself to function off of these systems, which then can allow the organizations that we build to be essentially be harmonious and like stable, and not only stable, but organizations that we haven't had on this planet for a really long time.
But wait a minute, Julian and Luke, isn't the Illuminati dumbing us down and destroying our pineal gland?
No.
With fluoride in the water and other things like that?
Well, I mean, there's no one really to blame. A lot of people are in like blame conversations and pointing fingers. That's why we brought these books as well, to kind of share a new perspective of what's happening. Luke, do you want to talk about EMFs?
Sure.
Because I want you, Luke, to kind of step in
as
well.
Yeah. This is great.
To touch on the Illuminati, Illuminati means to enlightened. It's enlightened people. When we talk about the Illuminati dumbing us down, there's a whole operating system that we have, the lore, which is a survival operating system.
Is that the fight or flight?
This is the fight or flight. Yep.
Okay.
Right. So you're in a survival mode where you can have things like love and fear. And when you're in the survival mode, we operate out of fear. So we're looking for things to blame. We're looking for the Illuminati. We're looking for the governments. We're looking for the police. We're looking for the water companies to blame for putting fluoride and chlorine into our systems. We're always looking for people other than ourselves to blame.
That's what Dr. Nicola Bird was saying earlier in the show. Yeah.
Tied in.
So when we start looking for love and we start looking at ourselves, we can actually start making better choices. When we start looking inside, we can start accessing higher states of consciousness. We can start accessing different parts of our body. When you start accessing different parts of your body and you start turning on or upgrading your senses, you can start seeing more of what's going on. You can start hearing more of what's going on. Your pattern recognition gets larger. You can see more patterns of what's going on. You can make connections faster. One of the things that stops us from doing this is EMF. Really, in this world, it's not necessarily the governments that are in control. It's not the police that are in control. You're being controlled by electricity, by EMF. There is signals from your cell phone, from the radio stations, from the electricity that's running through your house and above us and the power lines.
Even Wi-Fi.
Even Wi-Fi, right? Yeah. We install EMF machines into our house.
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know, EMF stands for electromagnetic frequencies.
So every moment of the day, these cell phone signals are ripping through your body. And what they are foreign to us. The police, or the governments, the laws, they put a no driving in Ontario with cell phones. You're not allowed to talk. It's not because we actually get distracted, but it's our brains that are getting distracted from the signals coming right through your head. So all day long, all night, our bodies are dealing with cell phone signals because there's no place you can go in Ontario where a cell phone signal can't find you.
Yeah.
So your cells are always listening to this. And it's just a vibration. What I'm speaking is a vibration, and you know how to decode it. your cells are also listening to cell phones. And if they were taught how to decode it, they would, understand that, hey, this is a cell phone signal. Cool, that's a cell phone signal. Let's focus on what this person actually wants to achieve in their life instead of focusing on the cell phone signal, instead of focusing on the radio signal.
And does that mean you shouldn't have cell phones? Do you guys have cell phones?
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
But we've gotten to a point where our bodies now understand what a cell phone signal is.
We've trained them.
Yes.
And it has to be a conscious, you have to go and actually train your body. Look, this is a cell phone signal. And we have these books, sacred geometry books, that do many, many things. And one of them that they do is they teach our cells, hey, look, there's cell phone signals and there's electricity running through this guy's body. But let's not pay attention to that. It's cool, it's there. But what does he want to do? What does he want to create in his life? Work with him to do that and leave those cell phone signals, because you now know what they are, to be cell phone signals.
So you have, how does the sacred geometry do that? You're saying is that what you use to train the brain?
That's part of the
part
system.
Of the training.
Part of the training. It's not the complete system. But when you sleep on this, that's what you do. You put these books under your bed. The more the better.
Okay.
It creates
the more books, the better?
Oh, yeah.
What?
Wouldn't that be very uncomfortable?
No, you don't put it
under your mattress.
Would be, princess.
We should get her a tiara.
Yeah, and a pea.
Shut up.
You put the books in between your box spring and your mattress, or you put them directly on the floor.
Okay.
You can put a book or two under your pillow.
You try not to make them lumpy,
Let's talk about this. You're talking about this book here?
Yeah, that's right.
Let's just let's talk about this book, because we were all joking, sort of, right?
No, at me. You were laughing at me.
Well, because somebody played the same joke on me before that, right?
Okay.
Do you want to maybe just hold that up and are all the pages the same, guys? Like, what is this? Tell us, what is this book?
They're all the same, except page 69.
Which you can't even tell, because it's not numbered.
Right here.
That's
69, and I'll show you 39. Exactly the same. It's just, it's your perception, how you read it.
But are they the same? Or not?
Everything's exactly the same.
Quite the same.
They all have the same design, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, you can tell.
Well, so tell us about this book. What is this book? I know it's called Sacred.
It's a technology.
Okay.
And it's a vibrational technology. And you can think of it as a processor. So when you have computers, you have one processor in a computer. If you have 4 processors, you have a quad processor. So obviously when you have a quad processor, you have more processing power. And, well, what does it process? The book processes a lot of things. One of the things that it does, it creates a field around you when you sleep. So this field essentially interprets the electromagnetic frequency signals around you, and then you're able to dream again. So a lot of times people talk about, wanting to live a life of their dreams, but are they really dreaming? How can you live a life of your dreams if you're not really dreaming? And, when I started sleeping on it, my dreams went, I was having dreams like I haven't had since I was a little kid. And it was an incredible experience. But the other thing that it does, it helps you convert memories that you're essentially kind of like holding you back. They're just bogging you down because they're not converting. They haven't really been processed. They're stuck. And our bodies don't have enough energy to actually convert these memories, which then limits your processing power, limits your pattern recognition, limits your ability of your brain to extract data out of your own body to build things that you want to pursue and information that you want to evolve with. So that's one way of talking about the Sacred G book. And a guy that created it, his name is Core, and he's out in Mexico right now. And the reason he created it is because he lost his memory. At the age of 10, he was in a car accident, and he had an out-of-body experience. Some being came to him and told him that, everything's going to be okay, going to go back into your body. And within a few years, he recognized that he couldn't remember anything before the car accident. So he also had a pretty massive brain injury, and every 3 to 5 days, he'd go into a high energy state, and his brain, his pineal gland, would release a crazy amount of dimethyltryptamine, or DMT for short, and he'd go into these states in which he would meet like literally like other beings, and they would teach him information that was essentially mind-blowing, and he used that information to build this technology to restore his memory system. So now he's got all of his memory back, but also through that process, he upgraded the functionality to his brain to like a super brain. Super amazing. Like I don't even know if super is the right word for it, because super just means like, it's some level, but like it's a level of. I mean, his brain, the way it functions, is absolutely phenomenal.
So can you give us an example?
Well, he's able to, let's say, control another person's body energetically from Mexico and move their hands just by looking at them on Google Hangout on a screen. He's able to like changes eye color. He completely like restructured his face,
his voice.
Could he?
So what we're leading to here is that our bodies are the most sophisticated. Is the most sophisticated technology on the planet, and bottom line is we really don't know how to use it, and we're learning how to use it right now. And by learning how to use your body as a technology and unlocking the abilities that are within you that are essentially not being unlocked because you don't have enough energy, life just becomes magical. Life just becomes absolutely...
And you guys have experienced this?
Absolutely.
Every single day.
Can't you tell?
Wait. Can you bilocate?
We're working on that.
Definitely working on that.
Okay.
What I learned over the weekend
Yeah.
is I learned how to connect my body neurologically with another person's heart.
Yep.
And I was able to lock in my hand with the person's heart.
Yeah.
And then by text messaging, I said, I'm going to accelerate your heart rate. So my hand just went faster.
Yeah.
And the heart rate accelerated.
So you texted
And then-
with one hand.
Yeah, I was texting, and then I told her
can't
I'm
even
going
do
to
that.
and now I'm going to slow it down. So I slowed it down, and then I just slowed it down, and that's it. So our bodies are connected in a really amazing way, and we can do so much of our bodies once they have the energy to do these things, and that's really phenomenal. When you look at the body this way. And
So are you studying under this guy Core? Is that what you're saying you're
Yes,
doing?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this guy gives classes?
That's right. There's a website called qix, Q-I-X, and it's the new human operating system. So we're part of that community there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that website is qix.mx.
Oh, because he's in Mexico.
Not for
This-
long, though. He's going to go to Costa Rica next.
How come everybody's going to Costa Rica?
I don't know. I want to go there, too.
We're trying to figure that out. I'd like to be at the Envision
Can't you
concert.
figure? Come on, bilocate over there. Physically bilocate over there, and have your other one here.
Like I said, I'm working on it. I
Holograms, right?
Are you?
Yes.
What?
So bilocate.
What did you
I
say?
don't want to go to Costa
Yeah,
Rica.
because you were talking about bilocating on the weekend. She was talking about bilocating when she gave her speech, weren't you?
Yes. Yes.
Can
Yeah,
you
I-
bilocate?
well, I can experience my my multidimensionality. I can experience that. I'm actually doing. Speaking of, have you guys heard of Marius the giraffe? What happened with Marius in the giraffe that was
Is it-
killed
is
in
it-
Copenhagen, the Copenhagen Zoo, in front of a bunch of people?
Isn't that giraffe that had a long neck?
No, it
I
was the
saw it
other
on
one with the
Facebook.
long neck.
I saw it on Facebook. Just briefly.
Yeah.
What happened?
So anyways, that's this whole incident where this Marius, he was considered too common with his genes, so they actually decided to. He was not a good breeder, so they decided to kill him. But what they did was they killed him in front of public. They did a whole public show, I guess you could say, where they shot him in front of kids and they dissected him in front of the people.
Yeah.
And then fed his parts to a lion. You could still see the fur and everything to the lion. So this created a lot of outrage. But the zoo is standing behind it, saying it's an educational thing. So, anyways, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and I actually connected he actually joined in our conversation, and I actually got I actually tapped into him, and we're actually going to have that's what the call is going to be about tomorrow night. It's going to be talking about his side of the story from the other side now.
Who did you tap into?
Giraffe, Marius, the giraffe.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. So that's what that's going to be about. But so in terms of bilocating, it's just the multidimensionality. It's
right.
no time,
well,
no
I want to
space,
get into
right?
this a little bit more. So this book here, which we're kind of joking about, but you're saying you put it under your bed and you're going to...
Well, what it will do is it will teach your body.
Yeah.
The first thing it will teach you is essentially electromagnet. The way your brain functions, and it sends a signal to your cells, with instructions to perform certain tasks. Fundamentally, and when that signal reaches the cell, it creates a tiny little electromagnetic field. Okay, and it kind of like surrounds the cell. So your brain is sending signals to your cells, but then we're also living in a vibrationally chaotic environment with EMF signals as well. So our bodies are being bombarded with these signals. And because there's signals coming in from the brain and from the environment, the body is confused. It doesn't know, should it listen to the environment or should it listen to the brain, because it cannot distinguish between the two. For the body, it's just like they're pretty much the same. So when you sleep on the book, it teaches your body essentially, hey, like Luke was saying, that's the environment. Let's put that in the back burner, and let's put what your own brain and your own aspirations and your own visions and your own dreams, let's put that to the foreground, and let's code your body based upon what you want, not what the environment wants for you.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. So is there any other thing you can do with the book other than sleep on it?
Oh, absolutely. Look, you want to take that one?
There are tons of things you can do. One of the things is a simple water test. If you go to sacredg.com, you can download for free a very similar version of a single sheet of this book. You can print it out in full color, and what you do is you take 2 glasses of tap water. You take 1 glass of tap water, put it on the sheet, and then take the other tap water, put it 6 feet away. You wait half an hour, come back, taste it. You're going to notice a difference in the water. One of them is going to be smaller molecules, so it'll be softer. It won't taste that much like chlorine and fluoride.
That's going to be the one that's on?
The one that's on the book or on the paper. You're going to notice a difference there. Another thing that's really cool about it is, you know how we go through life and we read books and we figure, okay, this food is good for me, this food is good for me, and this one isn't good for me. Well, that's kind of all BS. Because what's good for you isn't good for me. But we read the same book, and we're going to follow these instructions.
Good point.
So every body is different. And what you can do with these books is when you have these underneath your bed, you go grocery shopping, you come home, you put your books, you put your food on the bed. It's going to charge up the food, it's going to teach the food, and it's going to link it up with your body. So now you go, you take your food, it's half an hour later, you put it in the fridge, you put your fruit on the counter, and let's just say, for example, you make shakes every day. This is a real case story for me. Okay. I was making shakes for months. That's all I was eating. And I was eating a banana with every shake. When I got the books, I noticed, hey, my bananas are lasting for like a month. They were not rotting at all.
And they go quick.
They go quick. Yeah. So then I was like, wow, I can buy a whole crap load of bananas and just go to the store once. So I was doing that. And then one time I came home, and the next day my bananas were all rotted. I was like, what on earth? You know, my girlfriend's like, hey, you don't know how to buy bananas? What's going on here? I'm like, no, these were like green bananas yesterday, and they're brown today. So what we learned was that the bodies actually start communicating with the food. If your body doesn't want it, it'll rot it, it'll destroy it, it'll change your taste buds.
Maybe in this case, your body wanted banana bread.
That is another conclusion that we may have not gotten to.
That's true. Awesome. That's very true. So I've seen that happen again and again.
It's so funny. That's great.
I've seen it happen with tomatoes, with pineapple, mostly fruits and veggies, which it can destroy. You know, with all the preservatives nowadays, it's hard to destroy something.
Okay, so
would it help to put the cell phone on there?
Yeah, we actually have stickers for the phone. Do you have a...
I got a sticker.
There's a sticker here, Sacred Geometry sticker.
Different. No, I don't. Those on my old phone.
You can get these at freeshield.com. Yeah.
Is that what's in the book?
It's a different
pattern.
It's a micro Sacred G.
It's like
So I want to ask you though, with the work that you guys do, because we don't have a lot of time left, is there more than just working with this book?
Oh, absolutely. So let's just talk a little bit about brain training. So when we get, let's do a little bit of a brain exercise since we are kind of like.
Sure, especially on him.
Okay. So we're going to do what's called a one breath. And what this will do is clear your active brainwave state and just make you really calm. You may feel a little lightheaded.
Can I drive? Is it safe to drive after?
Absolutely, yes. And it's about a 2-minute exercise. But what I'm going to need you to do is I'm going to need you to really breathe deeply with your
diaphragm.
Diaphragm. So none of this type of like shallow breathing.
Okay. So we got to sit straight.
So sitting straight is preferable. And full breath. So when you breathe out, 100% out. When you breathe in, 100% in.
Does it matter how fast you go?
I will tell you the speeds as I go.
Okay.
And we're going to be using both our mouth and our nose.
Which one's when?
I'll tell you.
Okay.
Follow my instructions. So breathe out with your mouth first. Exhale out all the air and pressurize your lungs and your stomach. Mouth in, medium, 3-second breath. Mouth out, medium, 3 seconds. Mouth in, slow, 5 seconds. Nose out, slow. Nose in, medium. Nose out, medium. Nose in fast, 1 second. Mouth out fast. Mouth in, medium. Mouth out, medium. Mouth in, medium. Mouth out, nose out slow. Mouth in, slow. Nose out, medium. Nose in, medium. Mouth out fast. Nose in fast. Mouth out, medium. Mouth in, medium. Mouth out, medium. And hold. Really feel the pressure in your stomach. Pressurize the lungs. Tilt your head forward. And when I say release the breath with a half breath in, as you're releasing your stomach. Release. Half breath in. Let your head rise up slowly. And half breath out.
How do you guys feel?
Dizzy.
Good.
I'm good for the rest of the day.
Actually, you know what I was
So your brain just released dimethyltryptamine from your pineal gland by generating a gamma
Things
brainwave
do look
state.
different right now.
What?
Did it look clearer? Are you
now
more
I'm
focused?
acting like you.
Well, it also like links up our neurological systems. So because we did the breath together, it links us up.
Wow. Now I feel like Data from Star Trek.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
So this is the kind of like the beginning of brain training. So you.
Okay, I really, really feel that. I'm not exactly sure how to describe it, but I really do feel something.
So.
Trippy.
Trippy.
You feel trippy? Okay.
He was getting high halfway through. I could see him.
You were yawning, so the yawn is a really cool
I
thing.
yawned like 3 times.
So that's your brain releasing dopamine?
I have tears coming out of my eyes, too.
Great.
It's probably from laughter.
Well.
So that's the...
Well, I can feel it in my cells now, actually. I think maybe I'm starting to actually be able to describe what I'm feeling.
So the breath is a really powerful thing. You know, if you don't eat food for, I think, how many weeks is it? 4 to 6 weeks? Then
Yeah,
you
we
die.
can go quite a long time without food.
Right? And if you don't drink water for 3 to 5 days, you die. But if you don't breathe for 3 to 5 minutes, you're dead. So every breath you take literally communicates to every single one of your cells. So that's a really powerful thing, and the best thing about breath is that it's free. You know, we spend tens of thousands
Right now,
of...
currently.
Yeah.
Okay, oh, I really like this. This is so good. This is now my show. Just want you to know. I no longer have a co-host.
Yep.
See you later, Hugh.
Okay, well, I'm going to intervene now.
So the lightheaded sensation usually lasts for about 2 to 3 minutes.
Okay.
When you first get introduced to the breath, it kind of alerts your brain that you're back. Your consciousness is back. This makes you really intelligent the more you do these types of breaths.
Oh.
So there's
Good
a lot,
news,
but
Sandra.
I was thinking more for you.
I know you are. So, okay, so we got the book and we got breath work. But I'm imagining there's other aspects to this that you have. Could you
well,
just
there's a
tell
lot
us?
of layers.
Yeah.
So we work with memory. There's activations, brain training activations. The brain training activations are essentially ways of converting memories within our bodies. And the way memory is stored, it's stored in your muscle fibers and filaments inside of the cells as proteins. So the energy that your body would normally have to use to increase its functionality is locked inside the proteins inside of your cells. So that's like a stored energy state. When we go into the brain training activations, what we're able to do is essentially convert that energy and bring it into an active state that the body can then use to increase brain processing speed, pattern recognition, how your body extracts information. In essence, think about it like, how long can you stay in a conversation before your brain fizzles out? How long is your attention span? How long is your focus? How long does it take you, based upon your current belief systems and your current programming and your current way of thinking and your current patterns, before you judge something or essentially cut off or disassociate it from a piece of information? For most people, that attention span and that range of focus is very short. It's very short. And as a result of that, we really can't evolve with information at the rate that we should be able to. So that's what locks our bodies. And combined with the electromagnetic chaos, we really don't have a chance to really give our body the health and the functionality that it truly deserves to actually perform at a much higher level.
Okay. So we're just about out of time here, but so people who are watching this, like who should think about getting in touch with you guys to undergo some of this brain training?
And how do they get in touch?
And actually, before that, like what kind of life ultimately can they expect out of this kind of training?
Every single body should be contacting us or getting involved with this work. Because what we're really doing is we're increasing health. We're increasing your health, and through that we're going to be increasing your family's health. Everybody that you love and care for ultimately wants better health. There is no limit to the health that we can have.
So even if you are healthy, right?
Even if you are healthy. When we look at somebody, take a look at anybody. When they wrinkle their forehead, there's lines on the forehead, and that's trapped memories. You could start seeing it around people's eyes as they age. The older a person is, the more lines that they have. That's trapped memory. That's stored energy. So when you're born with 100% energy. You're also going to die with 100% energy. But that energy is just going to be stuck in different places. It's going to be stuck in fat. It's going to be stuck in lines. It's going to be stuck in cholesterol. When you watch TV, you're just storing that information as fat, as memory stuck in your body.
Cellular memory, right?
Cellular memory. So the more work that we do, the more memory processing that we do, the more energy we get in our daily life, the better dreams we have, the better sleep we have.
I guess less obstructed, the flow, right?
We flip the equation from essentially at the end of the day, from every day waking up with less and less energy over time, when you look at a person's lifetime, eventually leading to death, to reversing that to every day you're just getting more and more energy.
Can you actually reverse healing, like reverse like things like diabetes? Can you?
Yes. When your body has enough energy and you train your brain to actually function at a level, because the brain controls everything. It's responsible for everything that happens inside of your body. It's a controlling mechanism, except we don't know how to use it. So the way you find out more about this is we have a lot of structures, a lot of ways for people to find out, both online and offline.
Okay.
So you can go to, we have 2 separate meetups that we run. One is called Laws of Vibrational Energy Toronto, or LOVE Toronto for short. So Luke and I run that together with his girlfriend Krista. And we also have another meetup called Gamma, G-A-M-M-A, Entrepreneurs Toronto. Okay, so those are the 2 meetups that we run.
Gamma Entrepreneurs Toronto.
That's right. So anybody listening, they can come out. If you're an entrepreneur, that's my focus. I want to bring this technology to businesses and entrepreneurs. That's my specialty, because I've worked with entrepreneurs my whole life. And I recognize the patterns and all the stuff that they deal with. That's made my life. And online, we're about to launch a website called braintraining.pro. Okay, so that's my website. And Luke, you want to talk about your stuff?
Yeah. So there's only one health problem. Whether it manifests itself as diabetes, cancers, an ear infection, just a cough, what you're really looking at is your brain doesn't have enough energy. It's, when you judge something and you say, oh, I don't like this, well, whatever that may be, that might be an organ, that might be your liver or your kidney. So your brain's like, oh, you don't like that. Well, we're going to take energy from that organ, from that kidney, and we're going to redirect it to somewhere else. So as we go through life, we continuously say no to things. No, I don't like this. No, I don't like this. You're saying no to your body. So as we go through life and we start saying yes, okay, I'll start listening to this information. Your brain can go then and start giving energy back to those areas that you shut off. And there's really just one problem that we have. It's that you've got energy stuck in memories, in fat, in cellulite, and you've got an unorganized system. Okay, so these memories need to be stored. They need to be put into the right spot. Instead of judging it, we need to find the value of an information and say, okay, there is a value for this. Maybe it's not for me right now, but when the time comes and I need that information, I have it available because I didn't shut it out of my life. So that's the problem. It's our brain judges things. Our brain just cuts off the energy flow to those parts of our bodies, and it manifests a certain way. So when we start saying yes, we start turning our body back on, we can actually start looking at health, real health, not health where, okay, I'm going to manage my life till 86, which the insurance companies say that I have to die at. There's a mathematical equation that the insurance companies have figured out. They've figured out how to kill you at a certain age.
Really, they say it's not life insurance, it's death insurance, right? It is.
Because we literally plan for death. We start buying insurance.
Yeah.
We start buying our grave. You're planning for death.
Planning for retirement.
So those are all fear-based options. When we start choosing life and we start choosing health, we can actually get 100% health back. And 100 is just the beginning of health. There's 110, there's 200, there's 300. So this technology, these books, they allow us to actually go beyond 100%, where we're not looking at death. We actually start planning life. We can start planning dreams that take 200-300 years to fulfill. And we can start planning on actually being there in 200-300 years to watch them succeed.
Just like the Illuminati, when they, have their long-term plans for world domination.
So my work is educating people about life and educating people about death, to get people to start choosing life instead of start choosing death. So
is this all because of this gentleman core?
It is.
Okay. Did you guys go to Mexico?
I went to Vegas.
He lived in Vegas.
He lived in Vegas for a while, but he moved to Mexico.
Okay, was he gambling?
I hope so.
Oh, sure.
Jeez.
He likes to have fun.
I have this image, if you're talking states, I'm thinking Sedona or something, right? And he's not saying.
But he went there because it's the most radioactive place in the United States. So the books actually taught his body how to convert all that radioactive energy
so he's
and
going
make
to
it
neutralize
and make
stuff.
it useful for his body. So he's able to essentially get a crazy surge of energy in through his body and upgrade all of his body's systems. So it wasn't harmful for him. It was like good news.
Because the book helps with that, right?
What's that?
Sorry, go ahead.
The book helps with that if people are concerned about radiation?
Yep.
Okay. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So, So, Sandra, sorry.
I was just gonna say, so he went there to feed him, like he went there to get charged,
Yes.
as opposed to help to decharge that stuff, neutralize. I thought he was going to help the energy there.
No, he went there because there was tons of EMF, which the books can then use as positive energy for your body. So when he wants to turn on a certain part of his brain, he can access that energy, spike it with energy.
Wow. Really interesting stuff. And guys, I don't think we even scratched the surface.
We have not. So if you guys want to come on February 24th, we have our Gamma Entrepreneurs Meetup, 7 p.m., 155 Legion Road North. That's 155. That's in Toronto in Etobicoke. And then on February 27th, we have the Love Toronto Meetup. So they're both happening next week, Monday and Thursday.
Yep.
Right?
And also on March 1st, if you really want to get involved with your health, check out the website love216.com.
Love216.com?
Yes.
Sacred
Is
geometry
that your site?
code?
That is my site.
Is that a sacred geometry code?
216, yeah. It is. 6 times 6 times 6. The mark of the beast, apparently.
It's not the mark of the beast.
No.
It's a conversion process for actualizing your dreams, actually. It's a
Yeah.
mathematical formula.
Wow.
But like, there's also, if you're in, like, for brain training, I also do free online hangouts on Google every Friday at 9 a.m. from 9 to 11. 9 a.m. It's for entrepreneurs. So every Friday at 9 a.m. I do a public free brain training session. So you can come on and you can learn about brain training and participate in brain training exercises and put an energy into it, whatever area of your business you need to, and like that.
So where do they go for that?
They go to, just find me on Google+,
Yeah.
Julian Nalani Love, or find me on Facebook. And then if you add me on Facebook, then I'll send you the details.
Okay. That's very cool, guys. I'd love to have you back and get into it some more. So thanks for coming on the show today.
Very cool. So can anybody just buy
You're
these
welcome.
books?
They can, yep.
Where do you get those books?
qix.mx, so
Oh.
qix.mx.
Oh, okay. Okay.
They're $150 a pop.
Wow.
Is there some video we can go out with that people could see?
Yeah.
Head to sacredg.com.
Yeah.
And you're going to find some amazing videos. There's one called Sacred G Unlocking the Magic of Life. Core has shot
500 hours.
Okay, 500 hours
Plus,
of video.
It's crazy. Like, he's got enough, so much. If you want information, like, it's going to blow your brains out.
And
Well, we don't want to do that.
Well, just
In a
watch the
good way.
40-minute video, Sacred G Unlocking the Magic of Life.
Maybe blow your mind.
We're going
not your
to,
brain.
actually, we're going to run it. We'll go as we
Okay,
roll our
sounds good.
credits on one of these videos, just to give people a little,
Wow.
through the magic of internet television.
And brain training. And brain training.
Brain training.
Sounds really fascinating.
Okay, guys.
Sounds awesome.
Julian and Luke, thanks for doing this, and we got to have you back.
Wow. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank
You're
you,
welcome.
guys.
We look forward to being back.
Okay, thanks.
I want to hear
guys.
about your court thing.
Wait,
That,
next
we have
time.
to hear about the. No. When
What?
he comes back.
Yeah,
I
when
want to
he
hear
comes
about the
back.
court thing.
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. I'll come when I come back from Africa.
Oh, there's a whole other story. Okay.
Why would you drop that now?
We got-
Okay, I know.
we have
gotta
to go.
I know.
Okay, thanks, guys. Bye, everybody. We'll see you
Bye.
next time here on
Bye.
ThatChannel.com.
Where do I go? Bye. Bye.
A lot of people still don't believe that there's even such thing as vibrational energy, and then you ask them, well, how do you think your cell phone works? It's not connected to anything. Well, it's connected through electromagnetics. Great, and you don't think that that affects your body? No. Did you know that most people in America and Canada don't think that, but everybody else in the world does? Because this is the only place where our governments basically hide the fact that electricity and power lines are killing us and ripping our bodies apart and causing literally the fields that are wrapped around our body to break down and our cells mutating. It's huge. If there's a #1 cause for cancer, you're looking at it in electromagnetic technology. Go camp for a week and see what happens. Literally, go camping for a week and stay the hell out of